going back to your last game in college, everything from that point on was preparing to get drafted and doing things that you hope are striking the right notes with the NFL, and all of a sudden you got to switch gears to this is your job now. Is that an easy transition to make or a difficult transition to make?
I think from after the combine and up until this point, you're doing everything you can to prepare for it, and as a rookie you'll have to adjust, but I think I've done everything I could and everything I can to allow myself to hit the ground running when I got here. So
I think you said after you were drafted, what you feel like separates you is how hard you worked to get here, and that you had been through some adversity, some ups and downs. What looking back, what was kind of the hardest thing you had to overcome in the last few years to get to the point where you're practicing in the NFL?
I mean, really changing positions after 3 years in college, going from after playing receiver for 3 seasons and then trying to pick up on corner, which I'd never really played before. I think that's just about one of the hardest things you can do, and I think what separated me and allowed me to get to this point was how hard I worked at it. Obviously my athleticism would help me a lot, but I didn't want to be the guy that had to rely on his athleticism. I wanted to be technical, and I wanted to know everything that I had to know. So
when you're at cornerback, can you think like a wide receiver, and does that help you defend?
Absolutely. Taking that knowledge I learned from playing offense to the defensive side helps me pre-snap pick up on things that the offense might be doing. So I definitely use that to my advantage as well.
What has been the biggest learning curve in that transition for you, though?
I think just getting comfortable with the technique. Like I said, I never really played the position, so I was kind of learning it as I was going. But really emphasizing the techniques at cornerback. But I take a lot of strides, and I think I'm in a really good spot now with continuing to learn more too.
Who initiated that? Was it you to them, or the coaches to you, and how did that go?
It was Coach Campbell, our head coach, brought it up to me after we had some cornerbacks transfer away. So he knew with my athleticism, I was going to work hard, and wanted to see where it could go, and I was all for it. I wanted to see what I could do with it too.
What's been your first impressions of the rest of the rookie class, and kind of what are some things that you have been able to do to build the little bit of camaraderie you do have so far?
Everyone's excited. There's a lot of juice going around. Everyone, we made it to NFL, but now the thing is to stay here and make your mark here. So everyone's flying around. Everyone's got really good energy, and we've only been here for 2 days, but you're already starting to form those relationships that you can lean on those guys. So I think it's really special, and I think with over this next weekend, we're going to keep growing.
Darien, did you see Pete? He was practicing his back pedal coverage in warm-ups. Did you see that? What do you think of him bringing that kind of enthusiasm to rookie minicamp?
I think it's awesome to have your head coach out there giving you that one-on-one or with the other cornerbacks, giving you that kind of those tips with his gloves on. He's out there working on his press. So it's funny, but I really appreciate it, and to see that kind of energy in rookie minicamp this early in the process is awesome.
Talking to you when he was showing that? Or?
He was me and the other corners, it wasn't just me, but yeah.
Did you know his reputation for kind of developing defensive backs before you got drafted here, going into the draft process? This kind of been a crash course on his history here lately.
Yeah, everyone knows, what he did in Seattle with Richard Sherman, that Legion of Boom, but I was a big fan of Pete Carroll. I grew up a USC fan, so I was watching, him in the early to mid 2000s. With USC, so for me it's kind of surreal, to have this kind of come full circle for me. Now he's my, head coach in the NFL. I grew up watching USC, so it's just crazy.
Are there any of the defensive backs that he worked with in Legion of Boom that maybe you're trying to model yourself after?
He kind of caught him at the end of his tenure in Seattle, but Tariq Woolen, Richard Sherman's very similar, both tall, long guys, but I think athletically I fit a little bit more Tariq than Richard Sherman. But, just looking to, take all the coaching I can to be, to get to the level of those guys.
He was talking on social media about wanting to buy tickets to see you defend Dante Thornton, another pretty tall, fast guy. When you look at somebody that big and that fast, kind of like yourself, what do you see when you see a Dante Thornton?
I think he gives that unique challenge. He's not just big. He's big and he can run. So you've really got to be on point. For the fast guys, you got to get your hands on them. Try to disrupt the timing of the route. But we're one day in. I'm excited to keep going against him and Jack, and iron sharpening iron.
You talk about being a fan of USC growing up and Pete Carroll. What is that transition like? I mean, you said it's kind of jarring a little bit, but what is it like? Oh, that guy's my coach. He's not some guy watching on TV. He's coaching me now.
Yeah. I think it's just now you're here. So you can't get too caught up in it, and I don't think I have. But it was certainly, draft night, it was surreal talking to him on the phone, but now he's my coach, and, just got to do what he says and take all the coaching I can get.
How do you kind of balance mentally of knowing that a lot of corners that are in this position have a lot more experience than you, but you have so much more room to grow, right? Like, how do you kind of balance that mentally as you prepare?
I think it's, obviously I know that my best football is still ahead, but I'm here and I've done everything to put myself in this position. And, I was drafted in the 3rd round, and, I'm still learning, so for me, it gives me confidence to know that I've been able to make it, but I'm still learning, I'm still growing,
When you talk about that switch from receiver to corner, how much, I guess, more appreciation you might have for a guy like Travis Hunter who did them both at that level?
He's a special player. It's not easy to do. Playing one side of the ball is hard enough, but to play offense and defense at an elite level, you got to be pretty special. So, I think it's really awesome.
In the lobby, you do that here?
What you say?
In the lobby, do you do that here?
We'll see. That's not up to me. I'll do it, but we'll see.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot. A couple weeks ago, you were celebrating being drafted in the NFL, and here you are practicing for the first time in the NFL. How surreal is that, number one, and how comfortable did you feel out there?
Yeah, oh man, super surreal. Since a little kid, my dream has always been to play in the NFL. So to be able to come to the Raiders with Coach Pete Carroll, Coach Chip Kelly, Coach Chris Beatty, all these masterminds, been in the game for so long. It's going to be a great opportunity. I'm ready, to just keep diving in, keep learning, keep understanding more and more the nuance of the game, and to just keep coming out here and getting better each and every day.
Pete Carroll talks about he wants to throw everybody into the fire. There's no hand holding at all. Do you like it like that?
100%. I think it helps you grow. I kind of compare it to my freshman year at LSU, especially on a platform like that in the SEC. Whenever you just get thrown in the mix, you have to mature. You have to learn much quicker. So same thing here. You don't have any time to just come out here and not know what you're doing, not play full speed. You got to come out here sharp, conditioned. You have to understand the game. You have to understand the playbook. I think that only matures you and gets you better. So I definitely like it.
What do you see your role, the role you can carve out for yourself this year, and do you have set goals in your mind for a rookie year?
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be whatever role the coaches need me to play. I'm here to play my role. I'm here to help the team win. It's a team first mentality. Whatever I can do to help the team win, I'm gonna do. So whatever role that's carved out, and the coaches want me to do, I'm gonna do to the best of my ability. And like I said, it's a team first, and I just want to go out there and help my team win as many games as possible.
What was your first impression of an NFL practice and playing under Pete Carroll?
You got to be conditioned. So you gotta run. Especially being a receiver, you have to be able to run all day. And I think obviously conditioning on your own and football conditioning, it's a little different. But as you practice more and more, the better you get in football condition. So, like I said, I'm just excited to keep coming out here and keep learning under one of the greatest coaches ever, and keep sharpening not only my physical skill set but my mental skill set as too.
Jack, any receivers you've kind of modeled your game after or studied?
Yeah, there's definitely a few. I definitely like breaking down the guys like Puka, just how he used his body to get open. He doesn't dance around a whole lot. He attacks the leverage of the body. He'll maybe give him a 1-2 or something like that, but he uses big physical presence, his physical ability to get open. And then different guys like Cup, just the way he understands the game, the nuance of the game, which, is something I'm always going to strive to get better at each and every day for my whole career. Then just different guys who run routes, some of the best route runners in the league, people like Amari Cooper and Justin Jefferson, just trying to, and Coach Chris Beatty does a great job about that, showing you a bunch of people's game, so you can kind of just pick from people and take what you like, kind of just mimic their game a little bit.
Jack, obviously there's not going to be any contact for a while. As a receiver, what do you focus on this time of year when it comes to practices?
Yeah, especially just getting here as a rookie. It's easy to come out here and understand if you have a stutter and go, if you have a curl, if you're blocking backside. But it's more about understanding the different leverages, understanding what the defense is doing, and then taking it a step further and understanding the nuance of the game, knowing where to attack. A big thing is knowing how to get open and when to do it. A double move might work great. A stutter and go might work great against, a slant and go against a cover 3 where you get them to bite, but that might not work well, against cover 4 or cover 2. So different things like that, just as I go, especially like I already named, the great coach we have in this building, just learning more and more from them and really sharpening my mindset, or not my mindset, but my mental around the game, because that's how you last and that's how you become a great player. It's what is between the ears.
Pete talked about your relationship going back a few years ago with Coach O at LSU, another Louisiana kid like yourself. He's kind of a big, tough guy, football guy. And what did that mean for you as an 18-year-old kid to kind of learn under that type of a coach?
It was amazing. Coach O was one of my favorite coaches I ever got to play under. Obviously, he was a defensive-minded coach. But, I definitely took away a lot of things like mindset, hard work, determination, a bunch of things like that. I'm speaking for everybody on those teams. You'd run through a brick wall for Coach O if he asked you to in a second. And there's just so many things we took. But one of the main things I took from him, too, is just, like, the passion of the game. I mean, Coach O loved the game. He came in there every day ready to work. And that's another thing where I think if you want to be great, not only a great player but a great teammate, you really got to be passionate and love the game. So those are a lot of the things I took from Coach O.
Jack, 2025 has been such a year, highs, lows, lows. I mean, have you had time to process? Like, are you kind of compartmentalizing where you are? Are you taking those times? Or, you have people in your life that are helping you say, like, this is how you kind of maintain and go forward with everything? Yeah.
It's definitely been, like you said, a lot of ups and downs, highest of highs, lowest of lows, quite literally. But I think it's just about taking it one day at a time. I'm huge into my faith. All my faith is in God. That's the reason I'm able to be out here, is because God has given me all the opportunities. I have my brother on my back, just being my guardian angel. Like I've said hundreds of times over again, I'm a 2-for-1 deal. I have myself, but also have my brother with me right now who really pushes me every day. But like I said, I think just taking it one day at a time and not really getting too starry-eyed. I mean, this is my job now, so there's no reason to look at it with big gloomy eyes. You might as well just come in here, put your head down, and start working, and start gaining the respect of these guys around you as quick as possible.
2 more guys. What was your first impression of arriving here at the facility for today and just kind of getting the energy level up with the rest of the group for rookie camp?
It was amazing. We have a great group of guys out here. It's been awesome to meet everybody, coming in the building and putting a lot of name to faces. We have a really special class. They drafted, undrafted free agents, and all the guys out here trying out. Everybody I've met has been a stellar guy, A-plus individual. And I think that speaks for what they're trying to do here. I think that speaks for the Raider organization, the people they're bringing in, and just the class of all these guys here.
What are you looking forward to the most this upcoming season?
Just to keep on learning. I don't call anything failing. I take that as a learning curve. Anything you do, if you win a rep, if you don't win a rep, you can always learn from it, even if you think it might be a perfect rep. So I think it's really just, and especially having a guy like Gino, Jacoby Myers in the receiver room, Gino at quarterback, some real vets. It's going to be awesome to get in with them next week and really start picking their brain and seeing how they see things and start understanding it from a true pro level.
All right, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Being out here.
Sure, it feels great. Lifelong dream. So finally be out here, get to work with the team. It's just exciting.
Is it a lot of, how much of it right now is mental reps opposed to physical reps out here?
It's a good bit. I mean, this first day on the field, so getting out, just seeing everything, how it all works. But also when you're not going, just watching other people and other plays that you got to learn as well.
What would you say so far has been kind of the biggest transition for you from coming out of college into the NFL, joining the rookie camp?
I'll probably just say just new city. It's a little dry out here, hotter, so I'll probably say that's the biggest change.
Have you had a favorite moment, like since you were drafted? Like it's kind of been a whirlwind, I guess, but have you had some moment that you're like, oh, this is real cool?
Yeah, for sure, just celebrating with my family, just sharing the moment with them.
Jack was just talking about how, everyone's drafted or undrafted, you're all on the same playing field now. What's it like, the camaraderie, getting to know the guys, and kind of building that culture of this class?
Yeah, it's great, it's a new brotherhood, we all welcome each other, getting to know each other. Pete Carroll was saying it yesterday. We all got to be connected and build relationships, and that's going to make us a better team and teammates.
What stood out about getting to know Jack specifically? You two guys probably should have a large role in this offense for years to come.
Yeah, just great guy, good energy, just ready to come to work and ready to compete every day.
There's still a little bit of a debate about how your horse game went against Pete. Have you guys had a rematch, maybe settle it? Where does that stand now?
No, we ain't had a rematch yet, but I'm sure in the near future he'll put me back on the hoops.
Actually, what are you hoping to get from these next couple of days here at Rookie Minicamp?
Just build relationships with everybody around the building, get to know everyone, let them know who I am as a person, get better, learn the playbook, and just embrace the new city and new place.
Ashton, just what have been your early impressions of being around Pete Carroll in the facility and how you're in practice?
Yeah, he's dope. He's everything everybody says he is. Attention to detail. Just a great coach, great energy, great personality, and I'm excited to continue building a relationship with him.
Anything else? Thanks, Ashton.
Thanks, Ashton.
Hey, how are you?
Happy to be here. Blessed to be here. What's the takeaway from the energy, the pace on the field?
Energy was great. I mean, you can kind of feel it. It wasn't that hot today. I mean, maybe y'all think so, but coming from Texas, I mean, it felt nice out here. And so, Pete Carroll really sets the standards, and I think everyone followed. It was great to be out here and just be able to be me, create the energy and be the energy. So I had a great time.
What can you say about those standards that Pete Carroll's been setting for this group so far out here and how the group has embraced it?
One, I mean, you can tell. Pete Carroll's been doing this forever, and so it's amazing to be able to play for him. And so he's very backed by his knowledge and where he's been and what he's done. And so when he's giving his standards away, he's telling us how it's going to be. He's also backing it with where he's been and how he's done it before. And so it's really easy for all of us to buy in. And he makes it exciting, so it's even easier.
What are you hoping to get out of training camp mini camp?
I'm also personally just trying to set my own standard for how guys are gonna see just how I operate in the building, the type of pro I want to be, type of player I want to be. I want to be here for a really long time. I want to build a legacy here, and so that starts right now by just setting the standard and being consistent and sticking to it.
I saw you working a little bit extra on some technique right after the group broke. So what can you say to the differences that you've seen so far at this level versus the college level?
Right now it's really just speed and just personal accountability. If you're not going to be personally accountable to your own technique, to your own time to get better, we kind of like you're the CEO of your own company and your company is you. And so if you're not going to take care of it and you're not going to work on it, then they're going to get paid. So it's kind of up to you to make that happen. So afterwards I got beat on an inside move working back outside. And so that was just something I wanted to get some quick reps at.
How do you navigate the emotions between oh my God, I'm in the NFL now and this is my job, I'm here to work just like everybody else?
Same way I navigate the emotions and everything I'm doing. I have a daughter, and so when she's mad, I can't get mad because she's 5 years old. And so I try to be very humble. God brought me to this point. I thank him for the ability and opportunity to do what I'm doing. And so I know that he brought me here for a reason. I got to focus on what I'm doing and the task at hand. And I kind of say, we say day by day. And so, right now after this, I got to get done. Treatment, watch some film before the meetings, and just go through the process, stick to my routine, same thing I did at Tech. And then take from some other guys, take from some pros who are going to be able to show me what I need to do.
Looks like they're trying you out at guard first. Mm-hmm. It's a transition for you after playing tackle. How has that transition gone, and do you feel like that's going to be fairly seamless?
Yeah, I've had a great time transitioning back and forth. I told them when they drafted me I want to be a guy that can play all five. I got some snaps in when we started. I was playing tackle, playing guard. And so, wherever they're going to need me to fit in, that's who I want to be. It's all kind of meshing the same at this point. I don't call myself a tackler. I call myself an O-lineman, And so that's just where I'm at. Wherever they need me, that's where I'll put myself, and that's just where I'm going to work on. So,
obviously, no contact yet, but what are your impressions of Ashton?
So we were just talking. Funny history kind of goes back. We played each other in scrimmages in high school, and a bunch of our friends know each other. We're just from the same area. I have players who play with him, and so just hearing a lot about him. I'm excited to continue to be around him, see how he works, see how he's a pro. I've heard a lot about how he approaches the game and how he does a great job, and so I'm excited to just be a part of that.
Do you remember him specifically from the high school scrimmages?
I don't, because he happened to have Marvin Mims on his team. Who's leads, or he has the record for high school football receiving yards. So he was kind of doing his thing back then. So
You mentioned learning all five and trying to be the versatile guy, but how different is it really when you line up, like technique standpoint, reads, all those sorts of things?
The interior three are all pretty similar. Besides, you got to snap the football. Playing tackle, you're just in a lot of space. You're playing probably one of the best athletes on the field. And, you just got to be able to adjust, got to be able to understand what you're doing, what the team needs you to do, what the guys next to you need you to do. I think that's an amazing part about playing both. It's because when I'm playing guard, I know what that tackle needs from me in this double team. The same thing when I'm playing tackle, I know what that guard needs from me. And so it really just allows me to be able to play much better and, understand how everyone's going to be able to work together.
There are guys that would say, I'm a tackle, or I'm a guard, I'm a set, like whatever. They want to declare what they are and be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it about you that says, like, I just do what helps the team?
That's just who I am. I fell in love with football watching Jabril Peppers play 18 positions for Michigan. And, I'm an offensive lineman, so there's only so much I can do, but I want to do as much as I can. And so, same thing, playing offensive line is about the five guys all being together. And so when you cross-train and you play everything, you kind of start to understand how they all need to work together and what you need from each other. And so it's kind of like the difference of learning your role versus learning concepts. When you know what everyone needs to do and how everyone needs to get it done, it allows you to do your job better.
What's been your first impression of the NFL, the facility, the Raiders?
It's incredible. This is awesome. This is probably the most people I've ever talked to at once in media. And so, I'm just blessed to be here. I'm happy to continue to go through this process and learn. I'm one day in, so, I don't have too much of an impression yet, but I'm just going to keep doing everything I can and just try to keep learning as much as I can.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you.